Hello and welcome. This is Melanie Foote-Davis, founder of the Love and Freedom Academy, where I teach women strategies to say yes to creating the life they want. I have a client here that I want to introduce you to because she's amazing,
Mhm,
Shantelle Bethea, and
mhm.
just wanted to give you all an opportunity to hear what it's like to work, to come into the Love and Freedom Academy and to do work with us, and to see, just to understand the benefits of coaching from someone other than me. So thank you, Chantel. Thank you for joining and agreeing to share.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
And so, Chantel, it's been years. We worked together quite a while ago.
Mhm.
So I just wanted to ask you a couple of things. So I remember when you came to me that you were referred by your hairstylist, which I'm
Yeah,
excited about because I used to be in the beauty industry. But prior to that, were you familiar with coaching?
not at all. Not at all. Not familiar with that at all. Never heard of the word coaching. And just talking to my hairstylist pretty much, and we were talking about business strategies. And she just sort of brought up to me basically that she was doing the same thing. And so she kind of gave me an overview of what it actually meant. And I said, oh, okay, sounds good. Yeah, so as she shared a little bit with me, that's kind of how I picked up on kind of what it was, but never heard of it before then.
And so, what once you actually heard about it and
Hmm.
made a decision to contact me, what made you agree? Because I usually do, like with some people, I meet with them first and
Hmm.
have a conversation. What was your determining factor to decide to move forward and say yes to coaching?
Uh, Basically, I think my determined factor was, for the most part, the goals that I had set of what I wanted to do from a business standpoint. And like my hairstylist, I was anxious to get started in some business ideas that I had, but wasn't really know how to carry it through. And being that she shared with me that route, and she's pretty savvy in business herself. And so I said, well, evidently it must be helping her because I actually saw with my eyes she was really thriving, in the things she was doing. So she shared with me your information. And then once I spoke to you on the phone, I think it was more so sometimes, even though you've never met somebody for the first time, but you also get a sense in terms of speaking with them on the phone, their voice, kind of picking up on really what their personality is. And so that kind of gets you to feel a little bit comfortable. Like you weren't kind of like stuck in terms of, how most business people are when it comes down to being a stiff neck, I'd say, if you will. You were kind of smooth, calm, and your voice was a little bit soothing. So I said, okay. So it was a bit relaxing, as if I met you more than once, even though that was our initial time. So I felt pretty comfortable.
Thank you for that. That's
Hmm.
something that a lot of people don't realize that coaching is primarily done virtually. Technology wasn't the way that it is now back when
Hmm.
we're working together. And so there are many clients whom I've never met in person.
Wow.
And so it's really interesting that we are able to create a safe space and make a
Yes.
connection over the phone without ever meeting that person in person.
Mm.
So, um, some people keep coaching a secret.
Uh-huh.
So some clients don't want anyone to know that they're working with a coach. And I know you came to me initially with business ideas in mind, but we ended up working through personal things because they overlap. And the way we show up at work also has a lot to do with our personal development. But
Right.
your stylist didn't keep it a secret. Coach who is amazing, and you didn't keep it a secret because not only did you start to work with me, but you actually referred quite a
Mhm.
few of your friends. So,
Right.
what was it about it that helped you feel comfortable sharing with others?
I think I realized as we went through the coaching process, and being that I was looking from one angle, and as we got into it being more personable, I think I saw more of myself in areas to where I recognized that I was broken, and needed some pick me up in those areas. Not knowing sometimes that you're sinking because you never, for me, I always stayed busy, and that's how I always cope with things. So by doing that, I think you suppress a lot of yourself, not to really look at yourself. But as you go through coaching, as I experienced, and some personal questions that you're asked, I think you realize from that standpoint, when you kind of hit that spot to where, and then you have to take responsibility for what you find out about yourself. And what I realized that it was really a big hindrance from my business ideas going forward. And so that's when I got the wake up call and decided not to run this time, but actually step up to the plate and just kind of go through it. So that's what happened.
And that you did because I gave out like home play, right? You had work
Yes.
to do.
Oh, tons of work. Tons of work that made you pretty much really have to soul search yourself, ask yourself some questions, and definitely spend some time with you. And as I began to do that, I think just from answering some of the coaching assignments that I had in the past, I remember the wheel that we had. And we went through the wheel, and every area, it was like finance, your personal issues, romance, your physical health, spending time with yourself as far as vacation, and all of that. And I was like, wow, I do none of this, because I would always put either other people or other things in the front of taking care of myself first. And not realizing, I guess, how precious that you are as an individual, and realizing that that's important, So I had to step back and do some reflection. I even found out some things, I guess, even from my childhood as we were going through the personal issues with my father, and knowing that I hadn't forgiven him for a lot of things. And I remember I had the assignment to where you told me to write him a letter. And I was like, write him a letter? What is that going to solve? Then you said, even if you never give it to him, but just write the letter. So I remember I was on lunch break one day sitting in my truck outside, and I said, let me write this letter. And so I started writing the letter. And as I started writing, tears just started coming down. And what I realized as I was writing the letter, I was literally asking my father, in other words, I was forgiving him of all the things that I blamed him for. And I started crying at the same time, but I also at the same time felt a release, and not knowing that all those years, that was holding me down, and I was allowing him, as I learned in coaching pretty much, to have control of me. And he never even knew that, But as I wrote the letter, eventually, when I spoke with him on the phone a few days later, I kind of pretty much broke down. And I told him for the first time in a very long time that I loved him. And it was so amazing because just by me saying those 3 words and forgiving him, he said the exact same thing, but I could tell that he was very shocked and was wondering, like, where is that coming from, So I think that was one of the greatest breakthroughs that I had through the coaching class. And from that point until now, our relationship has just been phenomenal. I mean, if anything was to happen to him now to this point, I don't know what I would do. I mean, it's just been that amazing. And realizing hanging on to unforgiveness would do that to you all these years. And so it also helped me in my shell around me as well, even with other people, because I was one, if I get hurt, I would literally shut you out of my life. That was just it, because I was a protector of me. But opening up, and I still use that tool of writing now, when I need to. And it's so powerful. I just realized how writing like that, journaling, is just so powerful. And I recommend that to some of my friends, just randomly. But yeah, I think that was the greatest lesson that I learned is forgiveness, because that can hold a lot of bearings to you. And not letting other people of your past that you felt hurt from hold that over you, because it really does put a damper on everything else that you try to pursue in life. Mm-hmm.
It does. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
And that was really powerful, because many times we're so focused on, our professional path, and we're
Mm-hmm.
so career driven, or we focus on, our nurturing side where we take
Right.
care of everybody, and we separate them and try to compartmentalize them and think we can keep them all boxed. But
Right.
that personal journey and being able to go within and take care of you from the inside out
Hmm.
really does play a huge role in our success in other areas.
That's right.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
then, if I'm not mistaken, that also shifted some other things for you in the
Hmm.
romance department.
Yes, it did. It certainly did. So about 4 years ago now, I think after pretty much doing the coaching and going through that wheel and fixing those areas of me that I needed to, I was able to embrace romance. All before, I think I would just shut that part off, because I was just so business focused and just wanted to concentrate on something that I felt as though was keeping me happy, and not letting anything else into my life. And so that breakthrough doing coaching is what allowed me to become more of a whole person and go back and pick up the pieces of me. And eventually, once we got to the romance part of the wheel, and we discussed and talked about that, I can happily say, matter of fact, my anniversary is the 25th of this month. So, and it will be 4 years, that I've been married. And so that was just amazing in a nutshell, because my husband and I, when we first met, honestly, it was just kind of what you would say, one of those things that love at first sight. We got engaged. We met in September. In February, we were engaged. In May, we were married 4 years ago. So it was less than a year. But, it was also a side of me being able, when we did meet, that I wasn't so closed, and so to the way to where I wouldn't let him in, So and that was wonderful, because in the past, before coaching, he would have had a hard time.
I'm familiar with that.
Yeah.
I used to be in that club, right?
He would have definitely had a hard time. And then also his personality, I was able to embrace, because it was like the opposite side of me. And so I recognize, even with that, it's kind of like when you meet your mate, that part of you that you feel you don't do as much for me, which was at the time smiling or laughing, he brought that side of me out, And so it was just how God just brought it together, And I always say, when you bring two personalities together, that's a task. But at the same time, and I shared with him in terms of the process that I went through during the coaching, during the time that I met him. And that was another good side for me, because I never thought that I would share that side of my story at all, especially with someone, with your spouse, especially being newlyweds, But the purpose of me doing it was for him to realize the person, by God's grace and through coaching, of who I had become, versus who I was prior to him actually meeting me. And to also, if he ever saw me in those areas, like we discussed, where he even felt as though that I was getting back in. It's not taking time out for either me, him for the matter, working too much, putting business before family, things like that, that make him aware to also be able to, hey, I think I need to go back to coaching 101, that sort of thing. So I'm grateful. Today I am grateful.
I'm grateful too, because I need to make sure I mention this, that you're
Mhm.
actually an introvert. So the fact that you're even openly sharing this,
Yes, so true.
the fact that you are openly sharing this is really huge.
Wow.
And
Mm.
so I'm grateful for that.
Yeah.
So, is there anything else that you feel is important for women to know? Those who really could use support, but may feel like that's a weakness to ask for support or to ask for help or to let somebody know. Is there anything from your perspective that you feel is important for them to know?
Um, I would pretty much say, don't be afraid to step out of your shell. And I kind of use a scenario: if you ever find yourself standing in the middle of everything, but you still feel as though that you're surrounded by nothing, then pretty much your eyes are not open to literally who you are. Because if you can't see the things that are greater on the outside of you that's just waiting on you, then that's one indication literally that you need to get you fixed on, and the fixing comes from the inside out. So you can't pretty much say, if I do this, that's going to give me happiness, in terms of which I thought if I had a thriving business, then I would be happy. But what I realized is I had to fix me, and that was the inner me, that made me feel that unhappiness. And even if I was to still yet be successful at the time that I wanted to be, I probably realize now that I still would have been unhappy somewhere down the line. Yeah.
Yeah. So you actually were able to get you back. And so that's a beautiful thing.
I was able to get me back. That's right.
Yes, yes,
Absolutely.
yes. So
Yes.
you get your life back, you renew
Hmm.
your relationship with your dad, you open up your heart to be able to receive love.
Hmm.
And business is, you're still doing business as well,
Yeah. Yeah.
you actually are showing how you're able to thrive without
Hmm.
compromising the essence of who you are. And for that, I
Absolutely.
say thank you. Like, it was
Yes.
really an honor to work with you.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, and I'm so grateful for you and that time that we spent together, and also for the referrals, and for being able to share, like by you
Hmm.
sharing and opening up and taking care of you,
Yes.
family, your friends, and everybody else gets so much more of you.
Hmm. That's true.
So thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank
Yeah.
you, because you actually are able to contribute to the world just by taking care of you in a bigger
Wow.
way.
Wow, absolutely. So I would definitely have to let people know, just trust the process. Trust the process. It might be dark, and it might be some areas that you have to revisit that you don't want to go, but just trust the process, because I guarantee you, in the end, you will definitely receive what you're looking for. Hmm.
So there you have it, ladies. You didn't hear from me. I didn't pay her to say that,
That's right.
This is so um you all know where to reach me. I'm Melanie Foote-Davis, founder of the Love and Freedom Academy. You can find me at melaniefootedavis.com. And I am open. I'm inviting you to come in and serve. Whatever area you feel is missing in your life, then reach out to me. Let's have a conversation. You're not committed to anything but a conversation, and we can go from there. So let me love you through loving you. Peace and blessings.